Battle of Saraighat was fought. Now, you would be very interested and intrigued to know that in the Indian conscience and consciousness, ideas and historical facts like the Battle of Saraighat, the sacrifice of revolutionaries, all of this in the rest of India. I was never taught about the Battle of Saraighat when I went to school. I later learned about the Battle of Saraighat. No one taught me that the invincible Ahoms ruled one of the longest dynasties in history, and they were undefeated for 1,000 years. These were not things that we were taught in history. I've just finished writing this major book on India as a civilizational state. And you have to ask, where does this civilization come from? Now I want to explain to you that the idea of non-violence is a good idea. You know, we don't want to be a violent people. We are not a violent people. The idea of peace is also a very good idea. All of this is a very good idea. But we attained freedom and we maintain freedom, and now we aspire to get our rightful place in the Committee of Nations in the world because we know how to handle power too. One of the great mistakes of Indian history is that we were taught about non-violence, but we were not taught about the Indian idea of power, the Indian idea of revolution, the Indian idea of attaining, maintaining, and propagating power. And you see this across our history. We have not been taught. Indian history, I always say, the way Indian history is taught to school students and college students is a litany of failure, is a litany of defeat. It is a history of Indian defeat. We have not been taught about the history of Indian victories. I'll give you one example. Many people believe that India won freedom only because of non-violent protest. Now, non-violent protest was very important, I don't deny this. Gandhiji's role also was very important. I don't deny that either. I don't even deny that Gandhiji truly, in many ways, was the pioneering thinker of the 20th century. However, we did not win freedom only because of non-violent protest. This is a mistake. If you look at why the British finally preponed, you know, this wonderful Indian word, nobody else in the world uses it, but we use it, preponed. Why did they advance their exit from India? They advanced it because there were three major rebellions that happened. A naval rebellion off the shores of Mumbai, or what we used to call Bombay, Air Force rebellion, and an army rebellion. We know less about the Air Force and the army rebellion. We know more about the naval rebellion, or the British used to call it naval mutiny. We of course think of it as rebellion. After the Second World War, the British military power had been crushed. And please remember, the British were a naval power fundamentally. Their real power was in the high seas. So their naval power after the Second World War had been crushed, and they were holding on to the empire, and the jewel of the empire was of course India. They were holding on to this only because of the acquiescence, because Indians agreed to work with the British, to serve the British, to enslave their own country. ये तो हमारी इतिहास है कि, you know, in Hindi I come from, you know, I'm Bengali, of course I grew up in Calcutta, but I lived for many years in Delhi now. And in North India, where I now live, in the city of Delhi, North India, where everybody understands a little bit of Hindi here. In North India, there's a kahavat, you know, it's a saying, right? In North India, there's a kahavat ki Bharatiya itihas mein, in Indian history, the kahani, the story always is that fatak ke darwaze andar se khole. It is the history of Indian civilization that the doors of the fortress was opened from inside. Indians betrayed other Indians. This is our history. Across our history, this is the fundamental flaw. The British could have never conquered India had it not been for Indians cooperating with the British. It would have never happened. So when in 1946 the Second World War was over, London had been bombed by the Luftwaffe, by the Germans. It was in smithereens. British naval power had been damaged deeply. They could not anymore control when the revolt happened of the shores of Mumbai. They could not. The British realized you cannot control India anymore because the people have risen up. And once the soldiers, the naval people, the army people, the air force people, they revolt, you cannot control the territory anymore. It's impossible. A handful of British officers can no longer control a country as vast and as ancient as India. And today as India looks to, towards Viksit Bharat, towards the dream that by 2047, when we complete 100 years of independent India, we will be a developed country. When our middle income country or about getting there, we will become a developed country by that time. We are seeing a different kind of dream, and that dream cannot be fulfilled until each one of you realize that knowing how to handle power and understanding Bharatiya Sabhyata, this Indian civilization's, Bharatiya civilization's long history of understanding Shakti and power is absolutely critical. It is critical in every domain. Think about all the things we want to do today. We want to develop an indigenous military industrial complex. Please remember, इतिहास में ये कभी नहीं हुआ है, इतना होते पारे ना, that a country goes up and becomes a great power on borrowed and bought weapons from someone else. You cannot be strong buying arms from someone else. It cannot happen. If you are dependent on your key armaments towards some other country, towards another people, then you cannot attain that position. You have to have the strength and the ability to be able to defend yourself using your own indigeneity. You have to get there.
আপুনি চাই আছে ND24 সৰ্বশ্ৰেষ্ঠ নহয় সৰ্বোত্তমৰ দৌৰ